Welcome back to The Explainer. I am absolutely thrilled to have you here today because we're looking at a machine that is trying to answer a notoriously difficult engineering question. Today, we're framing our entire analysis around the true definition of a grand tourer and asking whether Audi's flagship EV, the e-tron GT, actually delivers on that legendary promise. A grand tour is supposed to be this ultimate contradiction, right? A car that's blisteringly fast, yet phenomenally comfortable over hundreds of miles. So can an electric vehicle truly strike that perfect balance?
Well, here is our roadmap for today's explainer to figure that out. We'll start with Audi's flagship electric GT, then move into unlocking supercar performance, check out the touring specs like range, charging, and handling, take a look inside the cockpit, and wrap it all up with the final verdict.
All right, let's jump right into Section 1, Flagship GT, Electric Vision.
To really get the e-tron GT, we've got to look at its bones. This car shares Porsche's highly revered J1 platform, literally the exact same architecture underpinning the Taycan. That means it isn't just some heavy SUV chassis that they decided to lower, it's engineered entirely from scratch to solve that age-old problem of the Grand Tourer. The whole GT concept is about balancing pure sports car aggression with long-distance highway comfort. The goal is to carve up a mountain road on a Sunday, but comfortably cruise on the highway for 5 hours on a Monday without needing to book a chiropractor appointment.
Just look at the visual contrast here. On the outside, you've got this striking, low-slung, incredibly aggressive footprint. We're talking wide, flared rear haunches, functional air intakes, and a totally flat underbody designed to just slice right through the air. But then, step inside. You're immediately greeted by a luxurious cockpit-like interior. You sit super low, but you're completely surrounded by high-end materials. It hits the nail on the head for the GT philosophy, ferocious on the outside, totally refined on the inside. Moving right along to Section 2, Supercar Performance and Unlocking That EV Power. Let's talk numbers, because they are honestly pretty wild. Across its trim levels, Audi uses a dual-motor quattro all-wheel drive system paired with a very unique 2-speed transmission on the rear axle. That 2-speed setup is an absolute game-changer. It gives you a low gear for explosive off-the-line acceleration and a high gear for efficient cruising. Now check out this progression. The base e-tron GT pushes out between 670 and 680 horsepower, hitting 60 miles per hour in 3.4 seconds. Step up to the RS and you jump to around 857 horsepower and a 2.8-second 0 to 60. But at the very top, the RS e-tron GT performance model. With launch control engaged, this thing is throwing down an unbelievable 912 to 925 horsepower. And that brings us to a number that's just hard to wrap your head around, 2.4. That's the blistering 2.4-second 0 to 60 time for the RS performance model. When you activate launch control, those dual motors deliver a surge of instant torque that produces genuine physical G-forces. It literally pins passengers firmly back into their seats. It's a level of violent, instant acceleration that traditional combustion engines simply cannot replicate. But hey, all that performance isn't just for standing starts. The e-tron GT features a 10-second boost mode, accessible right from the steering wheel. This gives you on-demand, absolute maximum power output for high-speed overtakes. Picture this. You're cruising on the highway, you need to pass a line of slower vehicles, you tap the boost, and for 10 seconds you have the full, unbridled fury of those electric motors at your disposal.
So, what about the actual touring part? Let's get into Section 3, Touring and Handling, Range and Charging. A GT is useless if it can't handle a road trip, right? The e-tron GT features a significantly upgraded 105 kilowatt-hour gross battery pack. About 97 kilowatt-hours of that is actually usable. That translates to a real-world range sitting anywhere between 278 and 300 miles. Now, a quick caveat, this heavily depends on your wheel choice. Often for the larger 21-inch wheels will absolutely eat into your range compared to the 20-inch options. So, there's a direct trade-off there between aesthetics and efficiency. But truthfully, the range isn't even the most impressive part of the battery tech. This number is 18. Under optimal conditions, it takes just 18 minutes to charge the battery from 10% all the way up to 80%. That is a massive flex. It's made possible by an 800-volt architecture and a staggering 320 kilowatt peak DC fast charging rate. Think about it. A 20-minute coffee and restroom break basically gives you a full day of highway driving right back. And Audi has seamlessly integrated this hardware into the daily driving experience. You have the sleek exterior charging port integrated cleanly into the front fender, but then inside, the charging target display screen on the central infotainment system takes over. The car's software handles your route planning, your charging stops, and your battery preconditioning automatically. It makes range management pretty much effortless for the driver. But touring isn't just about batteries, it's about the ride. Enter the brilliant engineering of Audi's active suspension system. Instead of traditional anti-roll bars, this car uses independent electro-hydraulic pumps on each wheel. This means the car can actively push back against physics. It keeps the chassis completely flat during hard cornering, heavy braking, and aggressive acceleration, while absorbing highway bumps effortlessly. Plus, as a really cool bonus, it features a comfort entry setting. The car literally raises itself up when you open a door just to make getting in and out easier. How cool is that?
All right, let's step inside for Section 4, inside the cockpit, tech, and comfort.
The front of the cabin is an absolute masterclass in driver-focused design. You get highly adjustable, supportive front seats with heating, ventilation, and even massage functions for those long hauls. The dashboard is dominated by a crisp 10.1-inch central MMI touchscreen, and Audi offers some really fantastic sustainable materials, including recycled leather-free textile options alongside carbon fiber trim. But we do have to be objective about the steering wheel. Audi updated the spokes with capacitive touch controls instead of physical buttons. While they certainly look sleek, these touchpads can sometimes lead to frustrating accidental inputs while you're maneuvering the wheel.
Directly in front of you, though, is the highly acclaimed Audi Virtual Cockpit. It provides a wealth of information, from navigation mapping to power output and charge status, right in your line of sight. And to perfectly complement this premium tech suite, the e-tron GT comes standard with a phenomenal 16-speaker Bang & Olufsen 3D sound system. It basically turns this quiet electric cabin into a rolling concert hall.
We do have to talk about the practical compromises of that stunning exterior design, though. Because it has that beautiful low-slung roofline, the rear passenger space is noticeably tight. Sloping roofs naturally limit headroom, and legroom can definitely be cramped for taller adults sitting in the back. But on the flip side, we do see a practical win up front, the inclusion of a front boot, or frunk. Now, it's not massive by any stretch, but it's the perfect dedicated storage spot for your charging cables, keeping them out of your main rear luggage space.
Which brings us to our last stop, Section 5, the final verdict. Let's lay it all out and weigh the facts. On the pro side, the engineering triumphs are completely undeniable. The explosive 925 horsepower potential of the top trim is mind-bending. The 18-minute ultra-fast charging time makes road tripping a total breeze. And that active electro-hydraulic suspension manages to give you sports car cornering and luxury highway cruising all in one package. But looking at the cons, we have some frank realities. The pricing is incredibly steep, especially for the RS models. If you're regularly hauling adults, that tight rear seating is going to be an issue. And those capacitive steering wheel controls represent a bit of a step backward for everyday usability.
So that leaves us with this final question to ponder. Does extreme supercar performance and 18-minute fast charging justify the practical compromises of a high-end Grand Tour? The rear seats are tight and the price of entry is sky-high. But for the driver behind the wheel, feeling that active suspension effortlessly glide over the road and experiencing that devastating acceleration, it just might be worth it. It is undeniably one of the most compelling electric GTs ever built. Thank you so much for joining me on this explainer. Keep asking those tough questions, and I will see you next time.